What's up, runners? Welcome to the Let's Run Fit podcast. I'm your host, B Lit. As a running coach, I realized how many runners really wanted to know how to make themselves better, and they had no idea how to get there. So here I am to help out any athlete who wants to know more about the sport of running. From the lifelong runner to the brand new runner, there's always something to learn here on the Let's Run Fit podcast. So runners, Mark?
Hey runners, welcome to the Let's Run Fit podcast. I'm so happy that you're here and tuning in with me today. Today we're going to be talking with Christine. She's a runner who has run more than 90 marathons, including the Boston Marathon. We're going to be talking with her what it's like to be a local elite runner. Now, while she doesn't like being called that term, but her paces are 100% at that local elite, if not closer to true elite level. And everybody knows that she is the best in the area because that is what she is. So let's sprint right in and get to know her today, shall we? Thank you so much for being here, Christine. It's an honor to get to talk to you today. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am wonderful. So I always like to start at the beginning with any guest who comes on is what made you start running? Did you come from a running family? Was it just something that you picked up in high school, college? How did you get started?
You know, I was one of those running is your punishment type sport people. So I never ran. I remember distinctly in high school when we were trying to condition for volleyball, we would run a mile to the park that was down the road from school. And it was like, oh, this must be 700 miles. And then in college, I'd been a part of a team my whole life. So in college, when I got there, I wasn't part of a team. I just felt like I missed that camaraderie. And it was the earlier part of Title IX. So there were signs up. We need a women's cross country team. If you want to run cross country, do this. So I thought, what the heck? I'm going to go join cross country. And I remember one of our first runs up in the hills. I was like, wow, the elevation here must be awful. You know, it was at sea level. I was just really out of shape. And I ran one season of cross country and absolutely hated it. So I quit after my first season. And then I started managing the women's basketball team. And ironically, the athletic trainer for the women's basketball team was a runner. And she convinced me to run with her when we were on road trips and she was bored. And so I credit her for my love of running. She didn't force me. She suggested that I run a half marathon with her. So my very first race was a trail half marathon when I was the day before my 22nd birthday.
Way to make it a hard one.
Yeah, exactly. And we took a wrong turn. So we actually probably ran like 13.9 miles or something. So yeah, it was great. And I haven't stopped running since. Yeah. So that's it.
I love your journey. How you got started was similar to mine, was that when you kind of didn't have that team anymore, you needed something. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure you were just like me, where you're like just bouncing, trying to find somewhere to do some type of sport and activity. That's exactly how I was, and it's how I got into running.
Yeah.
So with your running journey, did you ever think that you were going to kind of get to this point in your career? Like, how would you describe your running journey in terms of like, just like a one word to sum it up?
Unexpected, I guess. I never thought, and I always look back and I think if I had had a real coach, because even when I was on that cross country team, the guy would show up one day a week, he'd hand us our workouts, and then we'd never see him again until a meet. And so even then I was never really coached, because our workouts were run 3 miles, run to the Rose Garden, run at the hills. They weren't workouts.
They weren't specific. Yeah.
Right. I always wonder if I ever had a coach earlier, if I could have been better, you know, and I try to not think about that, because I just naturally evolved into a runner. I didn't try really. I remember my second marathon, a guy was standing on the sidelines actually, and he's like, there's only 50 women ahead of you and you're going to qualify was all he said. And I was like, looked around and asked the people around me, qualify for what? I had no idea what he was talking about. You know, that's how naive I was in my early running career. So everything just evolved naturally. And I didn't really try to make myself a good or competitive runner. It was authentic or genuine or whatever. It was just there.
It just turned into something wonderful. So you mentioned how you didn't have a coach at one point. So I'm assuming you got a coach at some point. Is that correct?
I did. Very briefly, it was a friend who had just gotten certified as a coach, and he offered me a free coaching just so he could get his feet wet. And I loved his workouts. I loved not having to think about what I was doing. And that was when I was really trying to be a little bit more competitive. I found that if you run in Olympic years and if you run, if you run races that you look back and see what kind of people have finished, that sometimes you can finish pretty well in race standings. And so I had him coach me through those years when I was really trying to be more competitive and win a little bit of prize money and go to races as someone who had a paid for bid instead of paying for myself. I was kind of cheap.
Yeah, that is really cool, actually. How like when you get to that elite level, they start to pay for you to race, and then you can even win money. Like, it's absolutely fantastic.
Right.
What was the best advice that you ever got from him as a coach, or anyone else that's kind of coached or given you any quality running advice over the years?
That's a very good question. Because I was coached all online. So mostly he just gave me the workouts and I did them, and, just little tidbits here and there. And he's the only coach I'd ever really had. As I went through, like running coach certifications and things, I've learned stuff, but I'm not sure I've ever had, honestly, this is awful to say, but I don't know if I've gotten any running advice that has changed my life dramatically.
See, it's crazy. Almost everyone answers that question with, they told me to run easy.
And I think I did that. So that was my thing, that I think
you already had that.
I stayed 30 years injury free. I just had my first major injury of my running career. And I think when I first started running, I'd go out an hour every time I ran. I didn't have any idea how far I was going. I didn't know how many miles I did. I didn't know my pace, but for probably 10 years, that was all that I did, was I went out and ran. And then when I was training for a marathon, I ran an hour and 10 minutes. And then the next week, an hour and 20 minutes. And then the next week until I got to 3 hours. And that was my training. I didn't have any plans. I just ran. And so I think that no one had to tell me to run slow. I just ran on how I felt. So if I was having a good day, I might have gone a little bit farther that day, but I didn't know how far I was going. I had a Timex Ironman watch, which only told time and, might have had a light on it. And that was about it.
Timex watches are how so many got started.
Yes.
You always hear about the Timex.
Yes. It was the gold standard back then.
Crazy. How
$34.
amazing you got with just so, like, I don't want to say like so little coaching, but like to get to your level without having a true coaching experience is absolutely just mind boggling to me. Cause it's just amazing. It just shows how amazing you were at running just from start to finish.
It had to be some genes, I'm sure, because I didn't do much. I mean, I just did what I loved. I loved running. At some point, as soon as, what I tell everyone who hates running and says running sucks, I was like, train yourself until you can get to 3 miles. Once you get to 3 miles, running becomes awesome. Getting to 3 miles absolutely sucks. So
it does.
Once you get to being able to run consistently 3 miles without stopping, your running journey will change your life.
It really does.
Yeah.
I don't know a single person who's an active runner who's like, this has just done nothing for me. We're all like, this is just fantastic. It's our therapy. It's our happy time. It's our social hour. It's just a little bit of everything for us.
Right. It is. It's great. I mean, and the best friends you've ever made, you've probably met running.
It is. I met you through running.
So true.
It's 100% how we met, actually.
Yes.
So you said you did a lot of races where they had some that you paid for the bib, others where bibs were paid for you. Of all of those races, what do you think is probably the best race you ever got to run in your career so far?
People laugh hysterically when I say this, but it's actually Lincoln, Nebraska. It's my favorite race. And I just had a friend run it and I had to verify that they still do this, but it's run in, where University of Nebraska is. They have a big dinner for free the night before in their practice football stadium. Everybody in the town is involved in this race. And at every mile marker that they have water, every water stop, they have lids and straws on all of their cups so you don't spill all over yourself. When you finish, the whole town, I mean, it's like a whole community. Plus, the town of Lincoln itself is the cutest, safest place. I mean, who knows what their crime rate is, but I'm assuming it seemed cute and safe. And everybody it was just such a genuine place. I ran pretty well there for that time in my life. And I don't know why. I just really, really liked it.
I would love straws on a cup.
Yes. Oh, yes. It's my
I drown. I cannot do the pinch a cup and try to chug it. I drown myself every single time. It's so bad. Every time.
I carry straws with me on every race now. And people are like, you're weird. I'm like, no, it's great.
That seems like great advice. I think I'm going to start doing that. Because I skip the water stops and I always carry my own hydro pack at any race because I know I can't do a water stop.
Right. It's just been, I mean, it's a little bit of coordination to get the straw and put it in the cup and drink. But, you know, after you've done it a few times, it's pretty easy.
I think it's better than drowning and then having to stop because I'm coughing up water to the point people normally stop with me. It's like, are you good? Like,
or your whole face sticky from Gatorade stick.
Oh, every time. I stopped even trying with Gatorade because I knew I was going to drown and I would get, it was just not worth it with Gatorade. No. I'll always just stick with water if I do try. So we talked about your best. What do you think is your worst? Like, don't name the race, obviously, but like, what's something that kind of happened that just made like your worst race that you've ever had?
I remember pulling up to a race one time in a torrential downpour. And I had probably jinxed myself because by this time I think I had run like 50 marathons and I don't think it had rained on any of them. And I might have said that to somebody, and then lo and behold, that was the race.
You jinxed yourself.
And I totally jinxed myself. And it poured the entire time, so much so that when I finished the race, I'm like, what is this on my leg? My shoes had gotten so heavy that I had bruises on both of my calves from hitting myself with the heavy weight of my shoe.
Oh, man.
It was so miserable. They even canceled the award ceremony. They had this little tent that you could kind of go in for a second, but everything was drenched. My parents came to that race and they brought my kids and they were very young at that time. And it was just miserable. Everybody was miserable. It was so bad. And I think about that race and think that it's a miracle that I finished that day because the only good thing was I was really into The Biggest Loser at that time. And one of the guys who'd won The Biggest Loser was running the half marathon and I got to meet him. So I guess that was pretty.
That's what's got you there because I would have stayed.
Yeah. And a lot
I've
of
been
people
like,
do.
I'll get another goal race. I'm just
Yes, exactly. There's got to be one next weekend, right?
It's not that I'm a fair weather runner, but I do have my limits.
Yes, and that was pushing it for sure in terms of weather limits. It was about as bad as it could get, except for you hear about races like Savannah a few years ago that people got cut off the race because it was so hot. And I'm going to do it again, jinx myself, but. For the most part, and I love running in the hot weather. So it probably wouldn't even bother me even if it was hot, but I've never been so miserably out of comfort zone comfortable in a race. 4th of July 8K was probably the worst I've ever done, but it was 5 miles. So, that's done relatively quickly. Yeah. Marathon would be a different
story.
Especially
at your pace.
At that time.
Yeah, I like hot weather when I run too, but that's mostly because I refuse to wake up early to run, even in the summer. Like, I do not believe in alarm clocks if I don't have to have one.
Oh,
so
my God.
By the time I eat breakfast, it's normally about 10, 11 o'clock. So either have to go run in the heat or have to wait till the sun goes down. And it really depends on my mood that day, which decision I make. Cause I just, I can't with an alarm clock. Like,
oh my goodness.
It's not happening, especially in the summer when I don't have to wake up for my day job. Like,
yeah, right. I like mornings, so I don't mind, but getting up sometimes when the alarm goes off, it's not always the funnest.
I can't.
The most fun, whatever it is.
I have tried this setting an alarm clock across the room to get up. And I just got up, turned it off, and went back to bed. I was just like, nope, not happening.
No, not happening. Yeah.
Oh, it was so bad.
I do set more than one alarm for sure.
I'd have to have multiple, but I might get divorced with that. So who knows? It's not a pretty sight for me.
Yes, I've turned my husband into a morning person, even though he might not like it.
I'm doing the reverse. I'm making it where he's not. he used to get up at like 6 o'clock naturally, and it would drive me crazy because it would wake me up and I'd get like mad at him. I'm like, if you're going to get up this early, go sleep on the couch. Like, this is just not working for me. So he slowly started shifting to sleeping in more.
Oh, geez, that's great.
I just don't like alarms. So going back to running, what do you think's made the biggest difference in why you had such a successful career? I know you never really had like a direct coach. Like, was there like a certain training that's kind of started that you felt like really kick-started you into gear, a type of workout, a mindset?
Two funny things. We moved to Texas and we got a dog. Those are my two things. So Texas was a very, where we lived in Texas, we lived in the hill country. Most people don't think of Texas as hilly, but we lived in the hill country in Texas. Super hilly, very different from where we had been. And then we got a dog who was very hyper. And so after I finished my run, because I couldn't take my dog out on a 10-mile run. So after I finished my run, I would do a workout with my dog, and that was my speed work. And that was my first Spartlic training, I guess, was with my dog. I'd never done any sort of speed work up until that point. Nothing. My running regimen to that point was go out and run. And that was, so I did my first race in 1992, and that was 1999 or two. No, it was probably 2000. It's probably 2000.
That's a good amount of time. That's like 8 years.
Yeah. And I ran 3 marathons. We only lived in Texas for a year. And I did 3 marathons in that time, and each time got progressively better from my dog, I guess.
Thank the dog. This is why we love dogs.
Yes. So that would have been my biggest thing.
Mine is sitting still.
And then after that, I did start doing some speed work when we moved here. When we moved to West Virginia, which was also very hilly, but I was trying to get pregnant and all that kind of stuff at that time. So I wasn't racing as much. But then when we moved down here, I met friends right away who ran, and we met each other at the track, and we actually started doing speed work. But it wasn't, I mean, now looking back and knowing what I know about coaching, it wasn't the right kind of speed work at all. I mean, I was doing 100s and 200s, which is not marathon speed work. So
it's good 5K speed work.
Yeah, exactly. So it worked, I guess, because I did progressively get faster for a while. So
did you ever have a moment where you kind of realized that you were a gifted runner and was going to be able to have this kind of local elite status? Like, do you remember a moment where it just kind of hit you where you're like, I keep, ending up in the top of these races? Like, or have you still just as humble as you always have been, and you just still don't realize that you're a local elite?
Well, there was one time, one of my husband, Don, works at Coastal, and he's the department chair of recreation and sport management. At the time, the marathon here was locally owned and operated, and he knew one of the ladies really well from their interactions with other parks and rec things that he had done. And we got introduced. This was our first year here. So in 2003, we moved here. This was 2004 was the marathon. She kept telling me I was going to win the marathon. And I'm like, I am not going to win this marathon. I don't know what you're thinking about winning this marathon. I have a 9-month-old at home. I don't have time to train. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not going to win this marathon. And I won the marathon. So that was probably the time I thought, probably maybe felt pressure. I don't know if I thought I was an elite runner, but I felt like I had to do it. And honestly, let's go back to marathon. I mean, let's go back to Olympic years again, because it was an Olympic year. So if you look at my time from that winning time, it was like 3:04, which is not a bad time for a marathon by any means, but it is not a winning marathon time most of the time. So it was that Olympic year when all the good Olympic runners they're getting ready for the Olympic qualifiers. So anyone who had qualified for the Olympics was not training for the Myrtle Beach Marathon. They were training for the Olympic qualifying race. So that's why I won that race. But it still felt pretty good because for whatever reason, a couple of months before, I ran 2 marathons after I had my son and won them both. But one was very small. And so, I can't really take that one. But this one was like, wow, that's a decent time and I'm not awful. So yeah, I kind of felt like a local celebrity at that point. And I think, and I don't, I mean, you're obviously going to quote me because we're doing a podcast right here, but I'm pretty sure to this date, I am the only local person, male or female, who has ever won the marathon.
I'll have to look that up because I feel like that actually might be accurate because people love to come to the Myrtle Beach Marathon because it's a flat course.
Right.
It's at the beach and people love Myrtle Beach, you know?
Right.
I'm going to have to look that up.
It's funny because the year that I also have my BQ, my PR, my best race is also Myrtle Beach, but I came in second that year and it's significantly faster than the 304. So it's funny that I won that year. And I guess the pressure, but yeah. My PR was not an Olympic year. So maybe that was the problem.
What's absolutely crazy to me is that you're acting like a 304 marathon is just like, it's an average time.
For winning a marathon, it's not like I have won a handful of marathons, but a lot of times I'll go to races that I know that they're not going to be a whole bunch of people at. So of course you can win. I mean, not of course you can win, but if you know
when you're of course you can win.
Well, I did a quadzilla that was 4 marathons in 4 days, right? So I knew that the first marathon was going to be a bigger race because it was the kind of the kickoff and it was this Sobeys Island race that they do out in Oregon. And I knew I wouldn't probably not be able to win that one because they bring in people for that. But the other 3, they're only like 50 to 100 people. It's bike week.
Because people only like don't want to run 4 marathons in a row. That's crazy.
Right. So not very many people want to do that. And there were people that came in here and there and ran them, you know, that from like, oh, I'll just do this one race. So it was fairly easy to win those. I mean, when some of the people were finishing in 8 hours, and then coming back and doing it the next day, I was like, oh, geez, that to me deserved all the medals because, you know, between eating and showering and sleeping, they were basically that's all they were doing all day. Yeah. The whole 4 days. That was crazy to me.
I've actually seen a lot of people talk about how the harder marathons are actually the people who do take 6 to 8 hours because you're out there so long.
Right. The fueling strategy, the drinking,
so different.
like everything. Like, I mean, a lot of those people end up hyponatremic, you know, because everyone's telling them drink, and that's all they're doing, but they're not really eating. They're not getting their sodium. They're not getting their electrolytes. So, when they cross the finish line, a lot of them are hyponatremic and they need medical attention more than the people that ran fast. It's crazy.
And that's who I am. I still haven't done my full. I'm still working towards that. I was attempted one time and had some medical stuff that kind of pulled me out of it, but I'm estimated to take, if it's a great day, like 5.5, but probably, let's just be real, it's going to be more closer to 6.5. Like, I am nowhere near your time. You could run like 3 marathons before I finish one. So,
it's everyone runs the same number of miles. So
you're the most humble person on the planet. And this is why we love you. I actually never even knew how fast you were. Mm-hmm. I knew you for over a year, and someone else asked me one day, they're like, do you know how fast Rockey actually is? And I was like, I mean, I know she's really good. She paces and stuff. They're like, no, do you know how fast she actually is? Because you don't brag about it. Like no one would ever know that you are our local elite here in the Myrtle Beach area.
There are others out there that are just as fast as I am, probably.
So you still can't take a compliment.
For marathon distance, I'll take it because they're having and if you go up to Wilmington, that is lost, you know. But down here in Myrtle Beach for the marathon distance, so far there'll be others coming around. So
it's still you right now. So going back to your training, you said you kind of started to get speed work in there slowly once you got your dog and, you know, things like that kind of started progressing. What kind of workout do you enjoy doing the most at this point? Like, what's your favorite?
I think my favorite are blocks of tempo. So, you know, you warm up for 15 minutes and then run 10 to 20 minutes at XYZ pace. And then recover for 5 and then do it again for 10 to 15 and then recover for 5 or whatever. I think those are my favorite, like blocks of pretty fast tempo stuff.
I like those a lot too.
I know that there's a break and speed work is just like too grueling. I think like real, 800s and stuff. That's just like the worst distance. But between the 5K and 800s, they're both awful. But yeah, so I guess the tempo would be my favorite, like a split tempo. I like doing little little bursts, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, maybe a couple of
I know
times.
you assign a lot of those to the cross country team, so now it makes sense.
Yeah.
I've noticed that you had a pattern for those.
And I think they help. I mean, I really do. You practice race pace, or you practice whatever pace that's going to be important to you, or faster than race pace. So race pace doesn't feel as uncomfortable. So yeah, I think they're beneficial too.
I think our team's pretty awesome, but I'm a little biased.
Well, I hope so. I hope they stay that way.
Oh, we're going to have a great year this year.
Yeah.
It's going to be fantastic. I'm so excited. So of all of the memories you have on your running career so far, if you look back on all of them, do you have like a particular memory, whether it's a coaching, teaching something, running yourself? Do you have like a favorite memory in your running career?
Oh, that's a tough one. And you even prepped me for this. I thought I had one. It was pretty cool. The day that I got my PR, which was a sub 3-hour marathon, my kids were 5, 3, and 1. And she had just turned 1. And I remember thinking, I'm going to, break 3 hours and there's going to be no one at the finish line for me. And somehow my husband wrangled all of them up and got them in the car. And he didn't think I was going to be that fast. I had a baby a year ago and I didn't think I was going to be that fast. And he was at the finish line. So that was probably the coolest thing, seeing all my kids
and your family there
at the finish line. Yeah. When I did the ultimate goal for me anyway, was getting that sub 3. So that was probably the best.
I feel like sub 3 is a really big goal for a lot of people.
Yeah. It's not easy.
I know I will probably never get there in my lifetime just because I don't have the time to dedicate that kind of consistency to my running. I wish I did.
Yeah.
But if I did, I will be over the moon excited. So,
and I tell people, like, my PRs are what I call legal blood doping, because when you have a baby, you get extra blood supply. And so I just kept training through all 3 of my pregnancies. And then you have, for up to 18 months, you have this extra blood supply. So it's like, being Lance Armstrong without actually cheating. So you have an extra volume of blood, which means you have more oxygen to get where you need it to go. So I try to encourage, younger female runners to keep running during pregnancy. So when they come back, they can come back and do silly things like break 3 hours. Cause I didn't think it would happen, honestly. But, so I was 13 months postpartum when I did it. And I think it's because of that blood doping legally thing.
I still love it.
Yeah.
You just act like 3 hours is so casual.
Yeah.
Like, I barely broke 3 hours in my first half marathon. Like, I'm still only at a 2:27, I think is my personal record now on the half, which is, only a couple minutes faster than your PR on your full marathon, twice the distance.
Shush.
Because you're amazing.
Still hard.
Alrighty. So like that memory though, like you're just absolutely fantastic. I know I keep saying that, but it's true. Yeah. So what do you think about for what your hardest day of running is? Like what it was and how you got through that and just kept coming back despite the hard time?
This is such a hard question because I can't think of a hard day running. I have all those shirts that say, day without running pretty much sucks. And I can't think of a day that was just that made me not want to run the next day. I cannot think of a day, not in my 30 plus years of running, that I thought I won't ever run again as long as I live. All right, this absolutely sucked and running sucks. I can't, honestly. Maybe I
have one, but mine had outside factors, including snakes. So
yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's been moments of a run, like when you run through a spider web, like things like that, but I would never not run again. Lately it's been hard because I haven't been able to run. And so now I think I'm even more appreciative of the runs because I can.
So if you had been chased by a snake, you would keep coming back, because that's what happened to me. I had a snake and it followed me and I was like, oh gosh.
See, snakes don't bother me. I'm scared to death of bees, but snakes don't bother me. I don't know why. Snakes could kill me, but whatever. I'm not worried about them. I'm not allergic to bees. But bees scare me to death. So I don't have any idea. if a bee chased me, I don't know. I'd probably just go run on the treadmill for the rest of my life or something. But
I stuck to a treadmill a good bit after that snake incident. I've also been chased by a bunny, and I didn't think bunnies chase people.
Mm-hmm.
Drake got chased by a bunny in Arkansas.
Okay, so there was one day that I was on a school, like overnight school field trip with my son, and we were camping. And there were like these, I don't know what kind of dogs they are, but they're dogs that scared me to death. Whatever, that's all that matters. The mean dogs with big teeth. And
probably untrained.
Yes, it would not let me run by their house, but I had already passed their house and I couldn't get back because I was in the wood. I didn't know where I was. I was in the boonies in Tennessee with my son's field trip. I didn't know alternate routes to get back to the camp. And we had someplace to be, you know, we had activities that we had to do that day. And that scared me to death, but it made me not want to run that direction, not to not run.
Yeah, I don't like being chased by things, so it freaks me out. Yeah. So another thing for running is obviously, I think there's only like one place in the world that possibly has the same weather year round, and we are definitely not one of them. And everyone has a favorite season to run. Some people much rather run in the winter when it's cold. Others prefer to run in the heat when it's a lot hotter. So like, which extreme is your favorite of the two?
Team hot stuff. We even have a hashtag on Facebook because I hate having to layer so many, like shorts in a tank top, shorts in a t-shirt. I'm done. You know, the worst part is trying to get out of your clothes when they're soaking wet from sweat, but that feeling of sweat is like, I worked today. But doing that same dance with 14 layers of jackets and gloves and because I'm so cold natured that I wear, like, people call me the running ninja because I'll wear one of those balaclavas or whatever they're called. Like I'll cover up from head to toe. Nobody will even know who I am when I'm out running because I hate being cold. So 100% the summer. And I don't even like I can deal with any element. Like I don't mind cold, but I hate dressing for it. So that's my least favorite. I don't mind hot. I don't really mind wind. I don't really mind rain. But when you put any of those together, I hate it. You know, like I hate rain and wind. I hate, you know, cold and rain or whatever, you know. So if you combine any two elements, I don't like them, but hot would definitely win any day.
I'm the same way because of the clothing. I can never dress the right amount. I'm either still freezing cold or I'm dying of heat inside my little bundle of warmth, and I'm trying to figure out how to run while taking layers off or like unzipping the jacket to get a breeze. And it's just like,
and then you turn directions, and then it's either cold or hot or whatever, you know, like it's like now I'm hot again because I turned this way or I took my gloves off. Now my hands are freezing. So yeah, it's miserable.
It's the worst. And I think that's part of the reason why I failed at my first training attempt for a marathon was because it was a winter running season with a spring marathon. And I mean, I know I had a medical thing that pulled me out officially, but I honestly don't think I would have made it anyways because running the cold for me just does not work.
Yeah. You have to plan a fall race.
That's my plan. My next attempt is going to be a fall one and run through the summer. And then I also have less going on because like coaching is year round with school. So, and that takes up a lot of time. Like a lot of time.
Way more than we think. Yeah.
Well, so much more for those little kids. Dang it. Touch your heart.
Yes.
So how do you stay motivated to keep getting out the door whenever it's wintertime? Because for me, I'm always like, oh, I'll just run on the treadmill today. And then I get on the treadmill. I'll run it's like 30 minutes. And then I'm like, okay, I'm bored. Can't do this. I can run for 3 hours outside and it'd be my favorite run 30 minutes on a treadmill. And I'm like, this is torture. So how do you stay motivated to, you know, bundle up, put everything on and get out that door?
So one of two things I buy. Or I don't buy. Believe me, I don't buy because I'm cheap. But I asked for Christmas. I asked for Christmas for really good running gear so that I do stay warm and I have most everything that I need. And then the other thing is I love the treadmill. I hate it when people call it the treadmill because it is such a convenient, like the woman who has the American world record trained most of her time on a treadmill. And I'm like, if we call it the treadmill, it becomes, you know, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy for the poor thing. So I just I don't allow myself to watch something that I'm really excited about watching until I have to run on the treadmill. I've only been on the treadmill, honestly, since, I wasn't really running from February till the beginning of May, but in January, I was starting to feel the soreness of my injury. And then I've been recovering ever since. So I've been, only on the treadmill since I've been cleared to run, in it's only been about 20 days or whatever, 15 days.
Not been long, no.
Yeah, it hasn't been long, but I love it. And I've caught up on all the smutty, cheesy TV shows and the movies that people have, oh, you got to watch this movie. And so I'll wait until I have a treadmill run to watch those things. And I don't let myself watch them until then. And so I have to be moving, even if it's, I have 15 more steps to get my step goal. I'm going to walk and hold my iPad and move, So I love the treadmill, and I'll be on it every day, and I'll just watch my smutty TV on my iPad and be super happy.
Do you think the type of treadmill also takes into account?
I mean,
I know I have an ancient one.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if I got a better one, if it would help me out a little bit. Because I don't mind running on a treadmill on a cruise ship when they have the state of the art with the big screen and it takes me on a trail through Germany and raises and changes the elevation. Like, I love it. But I don't know if it's because you love everything on a ship. That's possible. But
yeah, everything seems better when you're not stressed about all the other things you have to do. No, because I've had really crappy treadmills, and then the ones at work. I mean, we have a Woodway at work. I don't go on it very often, but I could if I wanted to, and that's like a $10,000 treadmill.
Yeah, those are so expensive.
Yeah. So I think it could for some people, but for me it doesn't matter as long as the belt moves and
you just want to be running.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you do any cross training activities to help with your running, or do you just love running so much that's what you do?
I have to admit, I'm a huge cardiophile. I love any and all cardio, so I will do any cardio. But it because of this injury, I have been forced to do strength training because I couldn't do any. When you only have one leg, it's kind of hard to do cardio. I did believe me though. I rode a bike with one leg, and I jump roped a whole lot with one foot, and I was able to get into the pool. So I did do some cardio that way, but I've been forced to strength train, and I keep thinking, everyone says at some point I'm going to love this. And I keep waiting for that time. I had 8 weeks non-weight bearing and lifted every day of those 8 weeks almost. And I still don't love it. So I don't know when that time comes. I thought 21 days made a habit and you're supposed to love it or whatever. But the people who think I'm crazy for running are those people who love strength training. And we need to infuse each other with a little bit of whatever. So we both have a little bit of that, because I'll do it. And I work on my core pretty well. The one thing that probably motivates me most are those stupid, let's do Planksgiving or whatever. And I'll do those for whatever reason, because I'm competitive. So I'll do a plank challenge or a squat challenge or whatever, but I don't love it. Not one bit.
See, I like lifting. I don't think I did have a 2-year stint where that's all I was doing. I was doing training for powerlifting.
Yeah.
So I really liked it, but I think I liked it mostly because when you're lifting the way I was, you do hard work for 30 seconds and then you sit there for 4 minutes.
Yeah.
So,
and I think I this is something that it would probably benefit me to hire a coach for, because I'm certified. I'm a personal trainer. I got probably stupid certifications that I'll never use as much, but matter of fact, I'll have to get another one here pretty soon for work, but I just don't enjoy it so much that even writing myself a plan is torture. So
get someone else to write it for you could help.
Someone else to write it for me and tell me what to do, and I'll do it. Because I am pretty good about that. If someone tells me to do something, I'm going to do it.
So you should strength train with cross country this year.
Yeah, I will, man.
When we get in that gym, we'll strength train you too.
Yeah.
They don't think I'm serious. They still laugh when I tell them that we're going in the weight room, and I was like, no, we are going in the weight room.
I have tried to tell them. I tried to tell them that for the last 2 years, that we need to do, even if it's just some body weight stuff before or after every run. And the couple of times that we did it this year, it was okay, you can go if you have to. You had to ride.
And they all run away.
Yeah.
That's why I'm forcing them. Yes. Practice is a magic mile, maybe 5 reps of something. Get your butt in the weight room. That's what we're doing at least once a week now, because it's no longer optional. Because I know exactly what you mean. We tell them, we're like, all right, we're going to do an ab work after practice if you got to go. And then they all just disappear. And we're like, you didn't have to go.
Yeah. You shouldn't have gone.
We need to stop telling them it's optional. We'll be the big mean coaches this year.
Exactly.
For mental mantras, that's always a big thing for people in the running world. Do you have any mental mantras that you use that kind of either help you with nerves or help you at that very end of that marathon when it starts to, the reality of the marathon starts to set in on your body and you just have to kind of push through it?
I actually do math in my head. It's so stupid, but that's what I do. Or I try to count backwards from a number because the way, exercise phys works is that your body actually takes blood flow from your brain. So it will go to your working muscles. So you really are dumber when you're running. Even though you have some really good ideas. So if you try, like, I'll say, oh, I have probably 5 minutes until I finish this run. So that's 300 seconds. So I'm going to just count backwards from 300. And usually I get to like 273. And then I'm like, wait, what number comes next? I can't do it. I can't do it. And then when I'm racing, I'll do math. When it gets toward the end, I'll say, well, even if I did a 10-minute mile from here on in, what pace would I finish in? And that's what I do. I do math in my head to see how much slower can I get and still get a time that wouldn't embarrass me or whatever. So, I just do math. That's stupid. I can't believe I just admitted I do math for fun, but yeah.
I feel like on the cross country team, our really smart kid that's a senior that is about to graduate, I feel like that's what he's told me.
Yeah.
If he's done.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he's doing it just to distract himself or if it's kind of like you're just trying to figure out what he can do.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. It's harder on a 5K course because you don't have much time, man. I got still probably 3 or 4 or 5 miles to do all my math. And, and I try to do it between like, mile markers too, okay, now if I've been, so
like, where am I at now?
Funny.
See, I can't even do that math when I'm not running. Anytime like someone comes, it's like, what pace do I need to run this at to get this time? And I'm like, I don't know. Let me Google it. I have the pace calculator app just bookmarked. I was like, I don't know, guys. Why do y'all keep asking me this? Or they're like, I'll tell them to run at a 6-minute mile on each lap for like each lap and for like an interval. And they're like, well, how long is the actual lap? Geez. And I'm like, I 90 seconds. You just did that in your head.
You gave me an easy one.
Like I physically will just not know, and I'll have to sit there and look it up, and they're just like staring at me. And then normally
funky
that kid
like,
that tells me the answer.
Yeah.
I'm like still Googling it, and he's like, it's this time, coach. Like I'm like, oh, okay. Trust him.
Okay. Yeah, he's good.
Smarter than me. We know it's true.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you ever have like a group of runners that you ran with, or did you always train alone?
So I guess my cross country team was that they were kind of not very nice girls. So we really didn't even run together most of the time. A couple of them were okay. I mean, it's so bad that the year that I ran Boston, one of the girls that was on my cross country team also ran Boston. And I was like, yes, I beat her. I mean, that's how bad it was. That's bad. But
I've been on those teams before.
So I don't think, I mean, I love running. I love my running friends. But I don't think, let me take that back. Not a group of runners, but one runner. The year that I did run the best, I was running with Zola Blood, who is an Olympian, and she moved here because she was from South Africa, a lot of turmoil. Some of your listeners will probably know her story, but we don't have time to go into it today. But she hated long distance running because she was like the junior cross country world record holder, and so she loved fast, quick stuff, and I hated that. So we worked really well together. That and pushing a stroller helped my probably become faster, because when you're not pushing a stroller, you're so much faster than when you are. But I love group runs. Don't get me wrong. I love group runs, but I just don't know if they're what catapulted me into any success by any means. But because I wasn't doing them when I had my best races. Probably.
You just like them for the fun runs, fun, easy.
I just like them for fun. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. To be with friends. And, I have definitely some friends who can run the paces I run, and some of them who run faster than I do. But when I'm running with them, I want to like have conversations and talk and be social. So we don't usually do the hard stuff when we're together.
Yeah. If we ever run together, even my hard stuff is still your easy stuff. So I have a couple people who run my speed work with me as a cool down.
Yes.
And I'm just like, this makes me feel terrible. And they're just over there just yapping away. And I'm like, oh my God, please stop talking to me. This is what we do. Do you have any advice for someone who might be struggling to stay motivated and getting themselves out the door? Like just like any tips or tricks you have that you give your athletes that you coach on those days that they're just like, this is just not working for me?
So the best advice that I've heard given is, go out for 10 minutes. And if you still feel the way you feel, then come back. 10 minutes. 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 10 minutes Okay. Because most of the time you're going to regret the runs that you didn't do. You're never going to regret a run that you did. So for me, that's the big thing. It's something that you have to, have pre-programmed in your calendar, just like any other thing that you have. You wouldn't miss your dentist appointment. You wouldn't miss your meeting with your boss. You wouldn't miss any of those things. So why are you cheating yourself out and missing on your run? And it's going to make whatever training you miss today and tomorrow and the next day is going to make every training run after that harder. So, you just have to figure out a way to make yourself do it. And whatever that takes for you, might need to be externally motivated. You need to, get a pedicure every 5 runs you do or whatever. Do that. Do whatever it takes to do it until you love it as much as I do.
That's really good. Just to do the 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And if anything, 10-minute run is better than no minute run.
Right. Exactly.
A lot of my listeners, we are kind of focusing a lot towards people who are just starting out, wanting to get into a routine, trying to get better. So I kind of asked that last question there is because I really want to help people get into a routine because it's so hard to get started at something. Because like you said, the first 3 miles are the hardest.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for someone who's wanting to start running and how to kind of help them through that really tough period besides just get out the door? Because I know you got to get out the door, but
Right. I really think that so many people try to just start running and their body isn't ready for them to start running. And they have to be humble enough and okay enough with doing like a run walk thing until they get okay with making those walk breaks just a little bit shorter every time. I think the question I get most often is, you have to teach me how to breathe. And I'm like, no, I just have to teach you how to pace, because what you're doing is you're trying to run faster than your body can breathe. So we just have to slow down the pace a little bit. And there I am giving you advice to slow down. But for people that are just beginning, I think that they burn themselves out in the first couple of runs because they can't do it. And that's the thing they have to be willing to tell themselves, is that right now I probably can't, but that's why I'm doing this. So I can one day, so, do a rock run method and just every few days or every few whatever, make the walk period a little bit shorter and the run period a little bit longer. Jeff Galloway's a great resources for people that are trying to do that. That get an interval timer. And once the interval, like I could keep running after that interval beat, then keep running. I mainly tell a lot of my people who, and I've said this to my cross country girls, I've said, is running another step going to kill you? And usually, so far, the answer has been no. So if it's not going to kill you, try to run 5 or 6 more steps. So try to just get a little bit further each time, so that's kind of what I'd say, I guess. I mean, and it's something that eventually has to become, just in your calendar, in your planner, first thing you do in the morning, whatever, until you get to that 3 miles. Once you get to that 3 miles, I don't think you're going to have to do any of that stuff anymore.
Yeah, you just got to get that start because it is hard.
It is
definitely
very
hard.
And then you're sore. Top it off with being super sore and, and not liking that feeling. But, the best thing to do for your soreness is to get back and keep moving. Yeah.
So my final questions for you is, what do you think the future has in store? Do you have any races that you're thinking about doing again? I know you're still coming off an injury, so you're not directly there, but do you have like a goal or a future in your running in mind at the moment?
No, since I had a couple of surgeries and my last one was in 2020, and I don't know if I'm going to race much anymore. I love pacing. I love that environment. I'm also super competitive, so I know that winning things is maybe out of the question anymore. And I mean, I can still probably go out and win an age group award here and there, which is fine. That's fine, but it's not what's giving me joy right now. So I think I will probably just stick with pacing. And once I get all of my kids off to college, which is sadly like this time 4 years from now, I'll be sending my last one to college. Yeah. So at that point, my husband and I just plan to spend all of our money traveling and running races.
And coming home to be a personal pacer for me when I finally get through training.
Of course. Man, no doubt. Anybody who asks, I'm ready.
Yeah, I fully intend on doing that. Like, you're going to be my personal pacer because I don't know if I will get through that long running. I think that'll be your longest ever marathon.
Yeah.
I'll be able to set a different record for you.
Yes, yes. That's fun.
I'm going to really lean into that and be like, Rocky set a PR, longest ever time.
Oh, that's fun. I love it.
And we know it's true.
No.
It's going to be so much
It'll be
fun.
good training for an ultra if I ever want to go farther than what I've done so far. So
you have done it ultra.
I know farther than that. I wanted to do a 100-miler.
Oh, good gracious. You probably will one day too, because of who
I'm
you
sure
are.
I will. It'll happen. I don't know when. 50 is good for now.
I love how you just act like 50 is just this tiny number. I'm over here stressing about 26 and you're like, which is good.
It's fun. It's a eating party in the woods is what one of my friends says about ultra racing.
Yes. I've actually read The Ultra Marathon Man by Dean Kanaskis, and he opens talking about how he ordered a pizza. Yeah. And he's like, how long is it going to take so I can tell you where I'm at? And they were so confused. And they just delivered his whole pizza, and he's just running with a box of pizza in his hand.
I love it. I have a friend who stopped at the Myrtle Beach Marathon and got a hamburger. So
I do that.
More power to you. I
did a half marathon with pizza in my bag. I've had pizza in my hydro pack and was just eating pizza on the race. It was one that I was just doing for fun. And I was having a blast.
Yep. Fuel as you will, right?
Some people bring booze. I brought pizza.
Yes. Oh, that's funny.
All righty. Well, that was our interview with our local elite runner, Christine Rockey. She is absolutely fabulous, and we know she's going to make all of her goals one day and come back to running just as strong as whenever she got injured. And I thank you guys so much for joining me today, and we'll see you next time, runners. Happy running.
Thanks so much, runners, for spending time with me and listening to this episode. If you like what you heard, please hit that subscribe button and leave me a review. I always love to hear from my listeners. And if you want more Let's Run Fit in your life, find me on Instagram at Let's Run Fit with BLit. Until next time, runners. The information in this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for medical or professional advice. Please always consult a medical professional if you're seeking medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. The Let's Run Fit podcast is not liable for risk or issues associated with using or acting upon the information in this podcast.